Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, so here we are for another week of fantastic questions. We've got some for you today. Not so many, so could be a nice, short, sharp, sweet episode for you today. We'll get to them in just a minute, but before we do, you know what I'm going to say. The important stuff: like, share, subscribe, the YouTube magic. Let's appease the YouTube robots and let's grow the Kendo population. We've already had over 6,215 people start Kendo. Probably from your wonderful efforts of liking, sharing, subscribing, and posting a comment down below that mentions the word Kendo. If you do that, the YouTube robots, they go looking for, like the Terminator, they go and find somebody that is about to start Kendo and makes them do Kendo by showing them one video like this or a similar one or from a similar channel. And they go, wow, Kendo looks great, and I'll start. And then people start Kendo because you made that comment, all right? Those robots, they're out there, like I say, looking for it. Like, they're not Terminators, they're like Kendo-ators. Kendo-nators. Look, write a comment, all right? Help grow the Kendo population. More importantly, though, I know, you know what I'm going to say, because it's the most important plug. But come on, let's be real here, right? Shop at KendoStar.com. You need to be shopping there. It's how you support the channel. It's how you get the best Kendo equipment in the galaxy, universe, history of the human race. The best service. You're going to shop with us anyway, all right? I own KendoStar, obviously. That's why I'm bigging it up. But everybody agrees that KendoStar is the best, okay? Everyone agrees. You're going to shop with us anyway. I know there's little, you know, pretenders popping up left, right, and centre. They see what we're doing. They think it's as easy as it is, and it's not, all right? We're not a little company operating out of our bedroom with a real deal. You get the proper stuff. You get the proper service. So don't mess around. Don't buy twice. Buy right the first time and shop at KendoStar.com. Okay, right, let's get to these questions, shall we? Right, first one. Hello Fish Sense, I have a question. I'm very new to Kendo and still training without a Borger. I hope you buy a Borger at KendoStar.com then. I was wondering, how often do people land attacks at the same time or a fraction of a second later? Because Kendo can be so fast, it can be hard to tell sometimes. Is there ever an emphasis on landing attacks without getting hit? That's a good question, couple of questions. So, now, how often do people land attacks at the same time? Let's say never. However, a fraction of a second between them, pretty common. It's pretty much all the time. Happens all the time, all right? Now, someone's going to get upset because I said never. And we've got this thing called Aiuchi, all right? There's such a thing called Aiuchi, which means two people strike together, all right? In theory, it can happen. But in practice, it doesn't hardly ever. Somebody always hits first, right? Now, here's what's important. Right? If I can get back in focus. Two players lined up like this are going to hit each other. And they both go and they both hit men at the same time. One of them gets a point and the other doesn't. And I understand for someone in your position, who's new at Kendo, you can't tell why they gave to this side and not to the other side, right? Is it that the Shimpan have got such laser-focused vision, they can see in slow motion, or they can see what's happening so fast they can tell which side has hit a split millisecond before the other one? Sometimes, yes, that's the case. Sometimes it is. However, that is actually not how it works. That's not how it's judged. All right. Aimen or Deban Amen, when two hit at the same time, it doesn't go off who hit first. That isn't the criteria. The criteria is which is the most suitable yuko datotsu valid strike. Okay. And almost without fail, the more suitable one, the one that's judged to be more suitable is the one that happens to hit first if you watch it in slow motion. Okay? But it's not because it hit first that the point is given to one side. It's that, this is a massive misunderstanding, by the way. So, you know, it's not the one hit first, it's that one made the better strike, and that's usually because one side made the opportunity and the other side reacted, and the one making the opportunity is invariably the one that lands the strike first, unless there's a massive disparity in the speed between the two players, in which case it can be decided the other side is better because the quality of the point was a better strike. So essentially, yes, strikes can happen at the same time, or a similar time is a better way of phrasing it, okay? A similar time. But the judges aren't just looking at who hit first. They're looking at the whole process of the technique when they're making their judgment as to which one of those two strikes was the superior one, or the one that was valid, okay? In terms of, is there emphasis on landing attacks without getting hit? Emphasis is probably not the right word, all right? Emphasis is not the right word. It's not good to get hit in Kendo, okay? You're not supposed to get hit if you can help it, okay? But you shouldn't, if you're trying to hit at the same time as someone else and trying to sort of dodge while you're hitting, that isn't correct either. You won't be able to make the valid strike from that, okay? You won't be able to make the valid strike from that. So if you're going to make I'd say that a strike that has emphasis on landing an attack without getting hit is more something like an ojuwaza. So when they hit and you defend their strike, so you prevent their hit and then you return with a strike of your own. Or, you know, it might not necessarily be a defense with a shinai. It could be like a nukiwaza, for example. They come for the men and you evade and strike the door. So those are obviously have emphasis on not getting hit. All right. But if we're talking about these times when two players hit at the same time, roughly the same time, then no, it's not. There's not really emphasis on not getting hit in that situation. All right. It's more emphasis on making the good hit. Next one. Let's see if I can get this highlighted right. Okay, what have we got? We have got, hello sensei, perhaps this is a suitable question for Kendo Rant. Well, that's where we are. So I've always have an extreme problem falling asleep after practice, even though I'm really exhausted. No idea why that is. We always train quite late in the evening. I lie around for hours after practice and often don't fall asleep until around 2 AM. Meanwhile, the practice is haunting my mind and I reflect on what was good and what was bad. Sometimes it's almost like watching the practice over and over again like a film. Somehow, I don't really manage to calm down. Luckily, I don't have to get up very early, so it's not such a big problem for me. In principle, I think it's a good thing because I think you make progress that way. Unfortunately, it's the wrong time and it's a bit stressful when you actually want to sleep but can't. Is this normal in the beginning and does it get better after a while? Do you know this phenomenon and do you have any advice on how I can fix it? How I can fall asleep better after training, or at least how I can come down better? Thank you in advance. So yeah, I think this is reasonably common, especially in the early stages of Kendo. And I think it's probably reasonably common in that situation. I don't particularly remember suffering with it myself, but I do know of people, and I've heard of people that have had this issue. Obviously, you know, you've been to Kendo practice, you're very sort of stimulated from the practice itself mentally. you know, and obviously to wind down from that is a bit of a challenge. So does it get better? Yes, I believe it gets better. All right. I think it gets better because with more experience and the more kendo that you do, the less, like at the moment, you're still new to it. All right. So it's still all really exciting. Right. And that like initial excitement, I'm not talking about like the first couple of weeks. Like I had that sort of an exciting phase for the first couple of years. It's like, oh yes, Kendo Day, yay, let's go to Kendo, sort of thing. And now it's like with more experience. I mean, I've had a very different sort of Kendo life than most people have, in fairness. So probably best not to compare to my situation. But I think with more and more experience, it becomes less of a big deal that you've been at Kendo, and it just becomes part of your normal life. So yeah, that's one thing. I think the best thing you can do is just after Kendo, after getting home, I think what I would do if I was in your situation, and I'm no expert on this, right? So you know, it might not work. I'm not like a sleep expert or anything like that, right? But one thing you could do is, like, I don't think it's a bad thing to go back over the practice in your mind, all right? I don't think that's necessarily I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Instead, you could go after you get home, prepare everything, you know, get all your boga out the bag, all that sort of stuff that you're supposed to do when you get back. Prepare yourself for the next day. Prepare yourself to go to bed. And even in bed, just lay in bed in a quiet place. Don't touch your phone. And like, just do mokuso. You don't have to sit up to do mokuso, okay? You just do mokuso and just think over Kendo practice. Okay? Just think over Kendo practice. Think about how you felt it went, how you'd like to do better, what kind of Kendo you'd like to do in the future, that sort of thing. Just lay in bed and do mokuso. And then I know they say you don't close your eyes in mokuso, but you can not close them and then maybe close them if you feel it's easier. Doesn't matter. And just try to wind down by doing that. All right? Think about that sort of thing. And maybe you'll fall asleep. Maybe not. Give it a try. Okay. Next, not a question, but an update. I asked several times in the past about correcting footwork because I'm literally ripping the skin off the bottom of my left foot every practice. Tried bandages, but they didn't help. I bought a specific half tabby, but it was too slippery. I finally solved the problem. I found yoga socks, okay, which have an open toe design and rubber grips on the bottom. I put Vaseline on the part of my toe that I usually injure and wear a yoga sock on my left foot during practice, and the end result is I don't get injured anymore. Thanks to that, I'm able to focus on correcting my footwork now and that I don't have to deal with excruciating pain and blood. I just want to share in case anyone else is having the problems. Okay. Thank you for writing that in. I'm going to be really tentative in congratulating you on it, though. I don't really like the idea of a rubber-soled yoga sock, to be honest. I can't imagine you can properly do Suriashi with rubber on the bottom of your foot. Here's the thing. Your half tabby, if it's slippery, wet it. Wet the sole a bit before the keiko, okay? Or during the keiko if you have to. It will help it grip, okay? Here's the thing. How brutal do I go here? I'm saying this because I want the best for you, right? Please understand that, right? Look, these blisters, torn skin on your foot, it's painful. It's painful. But it's your friend. It's vital to understand that you're doing the footwork wrong and that's why it's happening, all right? I know what you're saying. Using the little yoga sock is going to help you concentrate on fixing it. I'm not sure it is. I'm really not sure it is. I think it's going to turn into an out of sight, out of mind problem. And you're going to give yourself like a different like approach to your footwork by having something that's got rubber on the soles. I really don't like that part of it, the rubber soles. I don't think that's a good idea. As something to get used to. I think, you know, look, I know, right? Right, just believe me, yeah? Believe me, I want the best for you. This is why I'm saying this, yeah? But trust me, right? I know what it feels like to have your feet torn up from Kendo practice, all right? I know it. But it's part of it. It's part of getting your feet stronger and adapted to doing it and to doing Kendo in the right way. I'm not saying suck it up. I'm not saying that. I'm not really supposed to say that, right? So I'm not saying that. I'm not. I realise it's painful. You want to be able to do it properly without worrying about that. But I just don't like the sock idea. I'm sorry, I don't like it. If you're struggling with the footwork, practice it more. Practice it more. Practice it at home. You can practice it at home. Keep your left foot straight. Practice it at home. All right? Not just at the dojo. Because that's what's causing this issue. All right? It's putting on a rubber sock isn't going to... I know it's not a rubber sock. Rubber-soled sock. I just don't think it's going to help you in the long run. And that's what bothers me. All right? So I don't think you're doing yourself a favour. I think you're looking at a short-term solution that's going to cause a long-term problem. All right? So just be careful with it. Okay? All right? I want the best for you. All right? That's why I'm saying that. Okay? Know what it's like. Trust me, right? Trust me. Right? I've had some pretty serious situations with messed up soles of my feet. All right? It's, yeah. It's hard to go through. I understand. I'm super empathetic, but you do have to go through it if you want to get this right. Okay. Hello, Fish Sensei. I'm currently 4th Q, and as I'm practicing Kendo for nearly a year, recently I broke through the Fumikomi big or small men strike, and I finally be able to strike like a Kendo guy. Good. But when it comes to Gikeigo, I think you mean Jigeiko. So here we are. Andy's red pen is coming out. Jigeiko. Okay? Jigeiko. I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's my show, so tough. Here's one that really winds me up when people just write Geiko. Just Geiko. It's not Geiko. Keiko. Alright? It's Keiko. It's not Geiko. It's only Geiko if you put G in front of it or Kakari or something in front of it. Jigeiko. Alright? Jigeiko. Okay? And it's not spelled Gigeiko either. I'm getting it all out today. I'm getting it all out. It's not Gigeiko or whatever. Alright? Gigeiko. There's no soft G in Japanese. Alright? There's no soft G. If it's a J sound, it's a J. Alright? Jigeiko. Okay? Often abbreviated just to Keiko. Okay? Not Geiko. There we go. Okay. Right, I fixed the world now. Right, okay. Sorry, it's one of my things. Right, I often feel a sense of lost. I was told when I step in, I often hesitate. Seems don't know what to do. I was advised at my level after stepping in, Just go for the strike. If I want to think about waza, don't think for over 1 second. I need to be more initiative. After another Gikego, I want to fix this for you, don't worry. Jigeko, with my sensei, this week, I decided to tackle the problem. Go away, how do you get rid of that little clip? And come up a strategy, setting myself a goal, a focus in Jigeko. If I'm the only one made the first step in, engage as a tip of my shin, I made the contact. 1, I feel resistance from the center line and strike kote. If I manage to get the center line position, strike men. And if my opponent made the first stepping in, then I'll focus on deban and men. By simply ignore the other waza, just focus on these 3 strikes, form until they form to muscle memory. If I focus only practice these waza, will it become the foundation of my kendo and help me further develop without a sense of loss? I already discussed these goals with my sensei, and he thinks it's a good idea. I really want to hear your opinion as well. Anything else important I might have overlooked? Thanks. Okay. So I think you have your answer already, because your sensei's right. Okay? I think you have your answer already. So what you're saying is, right, there's more on this though, right? Okay. So what you're saying is that you're doing Jigeko and you feel a little bit lost because you're sort of not sure which way you should go when you step in, all right? And you want to make the strategy of step in, and if you can make a contact, and then if you feel resistance, try to hit kote, and if you manage to take the center, strike men, and if they step in, then try to hit debanamen. I think that's a good strategy, all right? Okay, I think it's a good strategy. You just 4th Q at the minute, so I think that's a good thing to work on, all right? Now, the only other thing I would say is people often say this to me, all right? People often say this to me. You're like, when you're like 4th Q, it doesn't matter if you, it's not that you're 4th Q, but if you're like Ikkyu, Shodan, Nidan, Sandan, like I have these people who are like that, and the sort of, maybe not Nidan, Sandan, but let's say Ikkyu, Shodan, and they come and they'll come and do the Keiko with me, Jigeko with me, and then afterwards they're like, I feel really lost, I wasn't able to hit you at all, and all this sort of thing. It's like, yeah, of course. Like, how long are you doing Kendo for? And like, 2 years. I've been doing it for 20 years. Of course you can't hit me, right? Yeah? When you want to. So the sort of mindset's wrong, right? Feeling lost against your sensei because you're trying to beat him. You shouldn't be trying to beat him, right? It's not what he's there for, okay? The sensei is not there as, like some sort of, they're not like a boss in a video game, right? That you have to defeat to get to the next level. It's not how it works, all right? They're there to help, for you to use to improve, okay? So when you're against your sensei, then of course your strikes aren't going to be successful very often. Sometimes never. Sometimes only when they let you. You might get lucky and you might hit one because you might do something unpredictable. It depends. But don't, people often feel lost when they're fighting against, doing Jigeko with their sensei or the seniors because they're approaching it with the wrong mindset in the first place, and they're trying to beat them and prove that they hit them. Yeah? When what you need to use them for is try to attack your men strike, for example. Step in, take the center, make the men strike. Without hesitation or fear. And that doesn't mean just running and do Kakarigeko, but it means that you shouldn't be focusing on whether you could beat them or not. Yeah? See what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily saying that's what you're doing, but that's why I think you're better off doing what you say. Yeah, step in, see if you can take the center, and if you can, hit men. If you find it difficult, try hitting kote. Fine. All right? Simplify it at this stage. Just try to get the good waza, do the good waza, all right? Rather than win, okay? Rather than win, okay? You can always tell, you know, it's like from this side, right? From the sort of teaching side, you know, you'll sort of be with someone that's like around that level, and you're like trying to help them. You sort of doing the sort of semi, and you're giving them a bit of a chance, and you see if they recognize or not. Okay, come on, let's go, and let's see what, you know. And like they're just so wound up in trying to kind of defeat you, like that they can't think straight or watch or realize what's happening in front of them, and they can't do their own kendo. They're just trying to hit you as much as they can, you know. And then they'll do stupid stuff like try and smash your gyakudo or something like that, or like, you know, you give them an obvious opening for men, so they'll try and ski you or something like that. It's like, well, you kind of missed the point here, all right, you know. And it's like, you know what I'm saying, it's just kind of a shame. It's a waste, you know. And don't get me wrong, I didn't understand this either. I didn't understand this until very late. I think I was like 4th or 5th dan before I understood this myself. All right. I was 4th dan. I remember, actually. I remember when I first started to understand it. I was 4th dan. All right. Up to then, I was just trying to just beat the senseis that I practiced with. And it wasn't until I was like 4th dan that I realized that that was just totally missing the point. And I look back, I cringe sometimes. So that's why I'm saying it, because I don't want you guys to get to the point where I was, where like now I'm here 20 years down the road, and I think back to 10 years ago, you know, and I'm like, ooh, you know. I think about some of the ways I used to do the keiko, you know, and now, you know, maybe in 10 years time I'll think differently. I don't know. I'll tell you at that time. But that, you know, I think the way I was approaching the kendo with the senseis especially was totally different, totally wrong, you know. I've been thinking about doing a video about it, actually, and sort of making a bit of an analysis video of the way I do kendo with the sensei. But I'm not sure if I've got the I don't know if my pride can take it. Oh, I don't know. We'll think about it. I'll think about it. All right. Well, basically, you know, I'd like to talk a bit about how I approach the keiko with the high level sensei. Okay. I've got several videos of me doing keiko with Hachidan senseis, right? In the last 12 months. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I haven't plugged up the courage yet. Okay, right. Last one. This came up for me, actually. So in kata, you go down to sonkyo, tips touching, but for shiai or shinsa with shinai, you clearly go to sonkyo with the tips not touching. So what happens in keiko? Is there a standard in terms of people going to sonkyo, tips touch or don't touch? Even if there is a standard now, was it true 20 or 30 years ago? Thanks. Addendum, would your answer change depend on whether it's basic drills, kirikaishi or jigeiko? Okay, so in kata, the sort of not standard distance, but the sort of distance that we make is called yokote distance. So where the bevel on the end of the bokuto, where that's called the yokote, and those touching together. It's not the same with the shinai, all right? Because the kata is more like, I guess, how, you know, a bit more representative how you would do with a real sword, whereas the shinai isn't directly representative in that respect. I said it again. Go on, go in the comments, go and get upset how I said that shinai is not exactly the same as a katana. Go on, do it. Anyway, right. In general, a kendo interaction starts from torma. Okay, this is my impression anyway. Starts from torma, right? Then it moves through a series of stages. On a basic level, it goes from torma to isoku ito 2, Datotsu to strike, and then finish. Okay. On a more advanced level, it goes from Toma to Shokujin, then the journey to Itto, Issoku Itto. And that's the majority of Kendo there, right? This was explained last week actually to not me, but at a seminar I was at the weekend with an exceptionally brilliant Hachidan sensei. I'm not going to name drop him, but he said that that basically is Kendo there, that part, and the strike is the result. That's the the result of that. All right, the point from getting not necessarily to Isoku, then from Isoku there's a little bit more the sen o toru, the taking of the initiative. All right, that's Kendo there. Okay. However, in general, it always starts at Toma being from the far distance. So, I mean, I don't know what's true 20, 30 years ago. Ask George about that on Kenshi 247. He might know. Probably it was different. I think if you look at old videos, it seems different. But in modern Kendo, as it is today, in general, Sonkyo is done from Toma with the Shinai not touching with each other. So they shouldn't really be touching with each other. Okay. And I think that is the same for whatever the practice. Doesn't matter if it's Kirikaishi or what. Like, Kirikaishi should start from a far distance. Alright? Now, if they're just touching at Shokujin, that's not the end of the... it's not the end of the world. I mean, there's probably a rational argument you can make for doing that. But the standard practice is, in my experience, the standard practice is for the Shinai not to be touching. Alright? I can't think of a great reason for them to be touching. Alright? So yeah. That's my take on that anyway. So there we go. We made it to the end. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic weekend full of Kendo ahead of you. Shop a KendoStar. Appease the YouTube robots by making a comment. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.